Hi everyone, my name is Hannah and this is Stellar Kind Oracle. Got a slightly different setup going on today, a different angle of my room. I like it better and apparently so does my mom. She says it makes me look like more of a person. Today's video is in our Astrology 101 course is our fourth installment. And if you haven't watched the previous three, I do recommend that you check them out before you get into this one. They are linked down below in the description along with timestamps for specific topics in today's video and other resources to learn more about astrology. Today we're going to be learning about the organization of the individual signs into the repeating cycle known as the zodiac. The zodiac represents the sphere of the sky that we can see from the earth, split into 12 equal sections. These individual sections are known as the signs, and each one represents a specific personality. From our perspective on Earth, signs move left to right through the sky throughout the day. However, when we chart out the zodiac, the order of the signs is read in the opposite direction, counterclockwise. Remember that in a chart, the horizontal line across the center represents the horizon. So we see the signs move clockwise across the sky as the day goes on, but we have to read their order in the opposite direction. Instead of immediately diving into the symbolism of each sign, we are going to be looking at the overarching structure of the zodiac. There are several ways that we can categorize and group signs together, and several ways that patterns start to emerge within the cycle when we do. The first three categories we're going to be going over are the polarities, elements, and modalities. These describe the quality and character of the signs and makes it easier to remember the motivations and personality of each one individually. First up is the polarities. The polarities start to break down the signs into broad descriptive categories that describe their overall function. Remember that signs are the how and why of astrology, and they describe both the way that the energy of the planets is expressed and what is motivating that expression to happen. Polarities are our first clue to this. As the name suggests, there are two polarities, masculine and feminine. In our previous video, we went over how the sun represents the masculine part of our personality, while the moon represents the feminine. As stated before, these energetic polarities have nothing to do with our sex or gender identity, and we all carry both inside of ourselves. That being said, if you're not a fan of the gendered words, you can also use yang, active or positive energy for masculine energy, and yin, passive or negative energy for feminine. In energetic terms, masculine energy is creative and externally focused, while feminine energy is receptive and internally focused. It's important to realize the polarities are a duality. There isn't one that is superior to the other, and they can't exist without each other. 6 of the 12 signs are masculine and 6 of them are feminine. When they're laid out in the zodiac cycle, the polarities switch back and forth with every movement forward through the signs. Most people have a pretty even and balanced distribution of polarities in their natal charts, but if one is more dominant than the other, this can give us a general sense of how that person directs their energy, mostly inward or mostly outward. Next is the elements. The 4 elements that are used in astrology are fire, earth, air, and water. Of these elements, fire and air are masculine and water and earth are feminine. There are 3 signs that correlate with each element, and they are laid out in a specific repeating pattern along the zodiac cycle. Elements describe the disposition and inclination of each sign. You're probably somewhat familiar with this system of categorization, even if you're not aware of it. The theory of 4 elements as 4 distinct energetic alignments has roots in several different ancient cultures and shows up still in contemporary popular culture, such as in the show Avatar: The Last Airbender, or the house system in Harry Potter is another example that uses a variation of these 4 classical elements as its basis as well. The fire element is the first in the cycle. Fire is a masculine element and is creative, action-oriented energy. Fire signs are focused on forward movement through action and creation, and their motivation lies in pure expression of will. The actual qualities of fire, especially how we look at it symbolically, give hints towards how this shows up in the personality. Fire signs tend to be warm and bright, generous with their energy, fast-moving, and spirited. They have an attractive spark of life and passion to them and tend to hold the attention of others. On the flip side, they can also flare up with anger, act impulsively, and burn themselves or others out quickly. The next element is Earth. Earth is a feminine element and is material, physical energy. Earth signs are focused on working effectively with their resources and are motivated by security and pleasure. Again, the actual qualities of Earth are helpful to keep in mind here. Earth signs are grounded, steadfast, reliable, and diligent. They have a solid and loyal presence and are not easily swayed by others. They tend to enjoy the finer things in life and like to indulge in the sensual pleasures of the earth. They are hardworking and practical, but they can also tend to overemphasize their material security and become overly conservative and materialistic. They can also be quite stubborn and stuck in their ways, overly cautious and risk-adverse. Next up is air. Air is a masculine element and describes mental and social energy. Air signs are focused on their intellect and learning and are motivated by connection, communication, and knowledge. Air signs are all about the mind and are logical, intelligent, naturally curious, and idealistic. Air signs try to intake, categorize, and analyze as much information as they can so that they can turn it around and communicate it back to the world. They, in essence, inhale information and exhale communication. Air signs love people and tend to be chatty, charismatic, and engaging in any social setting. But they can also be flighty, emotionally detached, and spacey. Or they can cut to the bone with their words. They also tend towards overthinking and can struggle with anxiety and dissociation, or they can overemphasize their intelligence and develop a superiority complex. Our last element is water. Water is a feminine element and is emotional, spiritual, and intuitive energy. Water signs are focused on emotions and insight and are motivated by intuition and deep understanding. Water signs are highly empathetic, sensitive, and deeply emotional. They are highly connected to their subconscious and are able to connect strongly to their intuition and tap into the psychic energies within and around us. Water signs are motivated to process and integrate all of this emotional and intuitive energy into a refined sense of internal security. Because of this, water signs tend to be more internal, introverted, and quiet, but they also crave deep intimacy and understanding with those around them. Water signs are in a constant state of flux and change and have hidden depths and power to them that you may not be privy to on the surface. Water signs have refreshing personalities and are capable of deep insight and intimacy, but they can also become moody, passive-aggressive, and overbearing. Water signs can also get too deep into their own emotional depths and become emotionally attached, sentimental, obsessive, or depressed. Because water and earth are both feminine elements, their focus and motivation is on using the resources that they receive, while air and fire are masculine elements and focus on creating new energy. The signs also pair off in another way. Water and fire paired together are elements that deal with the spiritual and immaterial, while earth and air paired together deal with the practical and tangible. This immaterial-material contrast is another duality that repeats frequently throughout the symbolism of astrology. Just like with the polarities, we are all affected on some level by each of these elements. Everyone has a slightly different balance of the four in their natal charts, and whichever elements are dominant hint at our overall dispositions. Some people tend to have focus primarily on one element, some have an even distribution, and some have 2 or even 3 elements that are dominant in their charts. The last quality of the signs we're learning about is the modalities. Modalities describe how each sign changes and grows over time. There are 3 modalities: cardinal, fixed, and mutable. There are 4 signs to each modality, one representing each of the 4 elements, and just like the other 2 qualities, they follow a specific repeating pattern on the zodiac cycle. Cardinal signs are first. Cardinal energy is energy that is constantly pushing forward. It is self-starting, leading, initiating energy that is motivated by impulse, inspiration, and drive. Cardinal signs are instigators that are constantly moving and striving for the next thing. They are highly attractive to others who want to support their vision and tend to be quite charismatic and charming. Cardinal signs are great leaders and visionaries, but they can tend to start more than they can finish, get bored before completing a project, or act too quickly on impulse. Fixed signs are next. Fixed signs sustain, ground, and stabilize energy. They are dedicated, steadfast, and persistent. They see tasks through with concentration, thoroughness, and focus. Fixed signs are able to operate with a lot of inertia and stick to what they start, but this is also their downfall. They will see a project through to the end, but it is hard for them to get started on it in the first place. And they can be inflexible when something needs to change. Fixed signs are known for being stubborn and are definitely the most resistant to change, but they do change in bursts all at once after a period of refusal and resistance. They are the least susceptible to outside influence, and the changes they make need to be internally driven instead. Last is the mutable signs. Mutable signs are, by contrast, the most susceptible to outside influence. Mutable signs are constantly shifting and changing to match their outside circumstances, and thus are adaptable, flexible, and willing to compromise. Mutable signs change often and take on many different roles and perspectives, allowing them to think innovatively and make creative connections. On the flip side, they can also come across as non-committal, inconsistent, and unreliable. Mutable signs may also struggle with standing their ground and defining a sense of personal identity and focus. Modalities show how each of the individual signs change, and on a macro level, they also show how the seasons change throughout the year. When the 12 zodiac signs are split equally into 4 seasons, each season ends up being comprised of 3 signs, and thus each season has a period of time that corresponds with each of the 3 modalities. Cardinal signs always start off the season with their leading initiatory energy. Fixed signs sustain the unchanging middle of the season, and mutable signs end the season and start to usher in the changes of the next one. This pattern repeats throughout the year for each season, and each season also contributes to the larger yearly pattern of the zodiac. The symbolic nature of each season hints at the purpose of the signs in each quarter. Spring signs plant seeds, lay foundations, and start new ventures. Summer signs germinate and provide warmth and abundance. Fall signs release, surrender, and balance. And winter signs detach, rest, and reflect before rebirth happens again in the spring. When we think even bigger, another pattern in the cycle emerges. The first 6 signs of the zodiac, spring and summer, correspond with developing ego, personality, and identity, and the next 6 correspond with integrating that individual sense of self into the collective by forming relationships and developing spiritually. The cycle ends with death, whether that's physical or metaphorical, and starts again with a new rebirth of a new individual expression that will eventually integrate itself into the collective world, and so on and so forth. This cycle happens metaphorically within all of us throughout our lives, every time we change, adapt, and evolve separately from the world around us. But it also represents our life as a whole and emphasizes that we are both born from collective energy and return to collective energy over time. The zodiac cycle, in essence, shows us the circle of life. Just like the masculine, feminine, and immaterial material dualities exist in perfect balance, so does the duality of the individual and the collective. In all 3, one side cannot exist without the other. These dualities are all similar in theme as well, although each show a different pattern reflected through the cycle of the zodiac. These dualities, patterns, elements, and modalities in combination with each other give us the basis of each of our 12 signs. As we start to move through them individually in the next few videos, having these categories as a frame of reference is going to be massively helpful. Next week, we are going to be starting in on the signs that make up spring: Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. And I'm going to be walking through the individual personalities of each of these 3 signs. As always, please follow me over on Instagram. I will be posting graphics that go along with our videos throughout the week, as well as additional astrology, tarot, and spirituality content. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Turn on notifications for the next video so you don't miss it, and I will be answering any questions in the comments if you have them. There are more astrology resources and timestamps for our individual topics in today's video down in the description as well. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you at our next one. Bye!